Terry Rozier was arrested early Thursday morning, and his NBA career could be over. What's next for Rozier and for the Heat? We break it down in today's episode of Locked On Heat.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat. Whether you're tuning in on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app, thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com today to get started. I'm Wes Goldberg, host of Locked On NBA Daily and Real GM Radio. I'm here with David Ramil. Both of us are credentialed Heat media members who cover this team every day. Make sure, if you haven't checked it out yet, our post-game reactions to the Miami Heat's season-opening loss to the Orlando Magic, some negatives, some positives to come out of that game. We're going to look ahead to tonight's game against the Memphis Grizzlies here, or Friday night's games against the Memphis Grizzlies here in a second, but we do have a lot to get to today. Breaking news, David, from this morning. The Department of Justice announced on Thursday that Terry Rozier, along with Chauncey Billups, has been arrested as part of a pair of wide-ranging investigations related to illegal sports betting and a rigged poker game backed by the Mafia. The NBA announced shortly after that Billups and Rozier have been placed on leave from their teams. So Terry Rozier will not be with the Heat for the foreseeable future, including Friday night's game in Memphis, and is being charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering. David, authorities picked up Rozier at 6 a.m. from the team hotel in Orlando, just hours after the Heat lost to the Magic in their season opener. We heard about the news shortly after that. What was your reaction?
Absolutely shocked. We know about his involvement, and that had been long discussed, perhaps even as a factor for his performance last year, that it was weighing heavily on him. There were a lot of different things that we had just not really gotten any kind of clarification from him. Obviously, there was an injury, and we didn't know exactly what was going on with Terry, but it seemed like he was not the player he was supposed to have been when the Heat acquired him. And yet you knew that there was some kind of link, and yet also the league had absolved him of any kind of wrongdoing. It looked like he was going to be able to move forward, put that past him, and kind of lean into a bounce back year. So I was really surprised to hear that not only was there no clearance whatsoever, but that the FBI was showing up at his hotel room early in the morning while he's on the road to arrest him. And again, putting his career and his jeopardy and affecting him greatly. So this is, as we continue to get into this and get more detail, and right now obviously still very vague as far as we have some clarity regarding what's going on, but I will ask that I think people should have some sort of empathy for a player. Like, this isn't like he committed some kind of significant physical violent crime or anything like that, and so let's not be quick to make jokes about somebody whose life is greatly impacted by this process here. So I'm just putting that out there as a personal note. Okay.
Yeah, and Rozier's attorney has already released a statement to the media denying these allegations, saying that they're going to fight these allegations in court and they're going to win. We'll see, obviously, what comes of that. Also worth noting that the reporting around the Terry Rozier stuff had been a little confusing, right? We've obviously known about this for about a year, a little bit more now. And I know Shams Charania on ESPN had reported on the Pat McAfee show a few months ago that Terry Rozier had been cleared again, right? He was cleared of wrongdoing by the NBA initially, and that and then Shams reported that it seemed like the investigation had been reopened, but then was cleared again. Definitely a little bit of confusing language there, right? And maybe he was cleared by the NBA, but he was never fully cleared, evidently, by the FBI, who just arrested him. So I think that's the other surprising part of this, is that there were some people who saw that initial headline a few months ago and thought, oh, I thought this was already done. Why is he being arrested? That was a little confusing. So the FBI holds a press conference at 10 a.m. on Thursday. They announced that Terry Rozier, alongside Chauncey Billups and former NBA player and coach Davion Jones, have been arrested as a part of a sting operation that included more than 30 different arrests and included the mob and the 5 New York families and all of this stuff. Like go into detail on this. It's worth the dive to figure out exactly what's happening if you haven't already done it, which I can't imagine that you haven't. But we're going to focus on Terry Rozier and the Miami Heat part of this for our purposes here on Locked On Heat. Here's what's being alleged by the Department of Justice. It's important, like you said before, to keep in mind everything that I'm about to say comes with the caveat, allegedly. So this is directly from. So what I'm about to read you comes straight from the file that was from the Department of Justice and everything that they found here in terms of their investigation. If you're watching on YouTube, we have a screenshot of some of the pieces here up there where Terry Rozier is named in this investigation. So let's start here. The charges against Terry Rozier allegedly stem from a game on March 23rd, 2023, when he was still a member of the Charlotte Hornets. They were playing the New Orleans Pelicans that night. Rozier provided information to a man named De Niro Laster, who lived in Ohio, and he went by the nickname Peso. Rozier told Laster that he was going to claim an injury and remove himself from the game early, despite the fact that he wasn't listed on the injury report that morning. Laster sold that information to at least 6 different people who all placed varying bets on the unders on Rozier for that game. Here's what's interesting, David. Interestingly enough, I at least found this part interesting. 5 of those 6 placed bets that ranged from $800 to $107,000 that day were all placed at the same sports book. 5 of the 6 bettors placed at all the same sports book, which is part of the reason why this was flagged and investigated at the time by the NBA in the first place, which found no wrongdoing at that time.
Yeah, I don't know what possesses somebody to say, I'm feeling $107,000 on Terry not getting 20 points tonight. And that makes that kind of a good choice there. So along with 5 people I don't know, just 4 other strangers that I don't know. And let's all just decide simultaneously that this seems like a good amount to place on Terry Rozier not getting his numbers up tonight. So I don't know. That's it. It seems very bizarre and obviously
raises eyebrows, I would say, right?
That's what it's just like John T. Porter, right? I mean, it was the same thing. It was like all of a sudden, like, who puts this much money on this one particular aspect of a player that, I mean, most people don't really tend to parlay that money on. Right. So it's just a little
by the way, John T. Porter is part of this investigation. He's also in this file that I'm reading from here. Like, it's all part of the same thing, to your point. So yeah, raises eyebrows, especially when, David, that night, Terry Rozier leaves the game after playing just about 9 minutes, a little bit more than 9 minutes in that game, resulting immediately in the success of bets placed on the unders for his points, assists, and made 3-pointers. He did have 4 rebounds in 9 minutes. That was pretty good. But everybody that placed bets on the unders on points, assists, and made 3-pointers got that money. He played just 9 minutes in that game after claiming a foot injury. Again, not listed on the injury report with a foot injury. And according to these files, the Hornets had no idea that his foot was even bothering him. Now he could say that, hey, it wasn't bothering me until the first 9 minutes of that game, something tweaked, whatever, but that's essentially what happened there.
I mean, something perfectly normal. Like, we never assume that it's tied to anything bigger than what it is. And it's just a player gets hurt, they roll an ankle, they step something awkwardly, and next thing you know, they come out of the game and it's going to be out for the rest of the game. And
normal, unless hundreds of thousands of dollars had been placed on your unders for this exact night. And so that's where we are. I also want to talk about 2 more people that are involved here, because Laster seems to be, according to this report, sort of the ringleader here. That's getting this information from Terry Rozier. Terry Rozier allegedly feeding him this information. By the way, I'm going to leave this game early. Time to bet the unders. Laster is then distributing this information. 2 other people that we need to talk about: Marv's Fairley and Shane Hennon, who both claim to be successful sports bettors on Instagram. They're one of these like Instagram influencer sports betting type people. Fairley, who goes by Vez, is from Mississippi. Hennon, who goes by Sugar, lives in Pennsylvania. I love the nicknames in this. And I love that the FBI is including all of these nicknames and then just drops the nicknames and then never references the nicknames again.
Like, I would only, if I was writing this report, refer to them via the nickname, So
we've got Peso, Vez, and Sugar. Also, they said that they referenced Scary Terry in terms of Terry Rozier's nickname too. Like, they're putting all of them in there.
Which shows me I've got to get better nicknames here. I don't know.
I'm gonna start calling you Sugar.
No, please don't. Appreciate it.
Sugar Ramil.
Let's.
So we've got Vez and we got Sugar here, and they are among the people that Laster sold this information to. So Fairly, Vez, then provided this information to Hennen. Sugar. Right. Fairly gave that information to Hennen, and then Hennen arranged for multiple other bets to be placed, and then would give Fairly a kickback on the profits. So now we've got even more stuff going on here.
Yeah.
Right. And we got a little bit of a ladder of kickbacks allegedly happening here now. So that's all happening. Terry Rozier goes to the game, removes himself after 9 minutes. A bunch of the unders on those 3 props get triggered and they pay out. 5 days after the game, Terry Rozier helps arrange for Laster to go to Philadelphia, where Sugar lives, to collect from Sugar. Around then, Fairly/Sugar gave Laster what the FBI calls, quote, tens of thousands of dollars in cash in payment for that insider information. That insider information was obviously the information that Rozier was feeding Laster. Laster then drives from Philadelphia to Charlotte, about a 9-hour drive. And in the early morning hours of April 1st at Rozier's home, Rozier and Laster allegedly count the money from Fairly in Rozier's home. And that's the end of the FBI investigation into Terry Rozier. So we're going to put a pin in the Knish on that for now. We're going to come back. What happens now? The NBA has already announced that Terry Rozier has been placed on immediate leave for the foreseeable future. He will not be playing for the Miami Heat for quite some time, maybe not ever again. Potentially even his contract could get voided. What does that mean for Terry Rozier? What does it mean for the Miami Heat and their impact to the salary cap? We'll talk about that next here on Locked On Heat.
Today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood. Your ambition just met its match. With Robinhood, you play for the win, not just on game day, every day. Looking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself. Expect more from your money. Get started today at robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. Today's episode is also brought to you by DoorDash. The NBA season is heating up, and DoorDash has found the perfect way to keep fans in their bag all season long. Whether you're watching for the highlights, your fantasy team, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes every game night even better. DoorDash is the official on-demand delivery platform of the NBA, and they're celebrating with something called the Bag Drop. Every time an NBA player scores 50 points in a game, DoorDash drops 50% off your order with Dash Pass the next day, and you're automatically entered for a chance to win the ultimate fan bag. We're talking player-inspired trip, exclusive gear, and stuff you'll actually want. It's not just food. You can get everything from snacks and drinks to headphones, ice, even sodas, all that delivered via DoorDash. They've got you covered for everything, whether it's late night munchies or last minute watch parties, whatever you're looking for, you'll find it on Dash Pass. So next time someone goes off for 50, use the promo code NBA50 the next day, and you get 50% off on DoorDash with Dash Pass, plus your shot at the bag drop. Dash Pass members only, 50% off up to $10 the day after a 50-point game with promo code. Terms do apply. No purchase necessary, and it ends April 13th. Open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Visit DoorDashInYourBag.com for full details. DoorDash, in your bag all season long. We'll be right back.
Thanks again for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. So a bunch more stuff to get to here. This is from a reporter who was in Orlando to see where Terry Rozier was arrested today for his trial this afternoon. Rozier was released today, had to put up $6 million in Florida property as collateral for bond. So not released from his contract, but just released on bond. He walked into court handcuffed and shackled at the ankles, was wearing a Hornets hoodie. Defense attorney called the New York prosecutor's behavior draconian. So that was from Mike Valente, who is a reporter over at CBS affiliate in Orlando, who was
Courtroom
there
reporter.
on the scene. Courtroom reporter. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So Terry Rozier, that was the arrangement this afternoon. He's obviously now walking free, I suppose, on bond, but won't be playing for the Miami Heat anytime soon. The NBA has already placed Rozier on leave, has not yet commented as of 5:30 on Thursday evening, has not yet commented on whether it will void Terry Rozier's contract or not. Rozier is on the books this season for $26.6 million in an expiring contract. They do, however, have the ability to void Terry Rozier's contract immediately, regardless of what happens here on out as a result of this FBI investigation. They can do so under two provisions in the CBA that have to do with sports gambling as it relates to players. So there's Section 12, there's Section 19 in the CBA. I don't have to get into the nitty gritty. Section 12 deals with a player dismissed and disqualified for gambling violations. Those players are immediately banned for at least 1 year, and their contracts become null and void, no pay, roster spot becomes open, and there's no appeal process for those players. Reinstatement requires approval from both the NBA and the Players Association. Section 19 covers involvement in betting and sport and fantasy sports companies. Rozier's case could fall under either one of those provisions, but there are provisions in the CBA that deal directly with this, which is really the point there. And underscoring that, under these provisions, the league, the NBA itself, the front office, can automatically terminate his deal with the Heat. They can come in and just say, nope, you do not have a contract anymore. And that would end his contract on the spot right away. And once the contract is voided, once that happens, David, it is removed completely from the team's salary cap. So that $26.6 million, the Heat would no longer owe Rozier that money. It would no longer count against the cap. It wouldn't count against the luxury tax. It wouldn't count against the aprons. It would just come off the books. Poof, gone. So if that were the case, the Heat would not have cap space, right? They would still not. They wouldn't be operating as a cap space team, but they would have access to the full mid-level exception at $14 million. They'd also be able to use their trade exception that they created in the Duncan Robinson trade, $16.8 million. They have access to it now, but if they used it, it would take them way over the apron. If Rozier's $27 million just came off, $26.6 million just came off the books, they could use either the mid-level exception or that trade exception. That trade exception is really interesting because at $16.8 million, that's a lot of money. You could just absorb a player into that trade exception from another team and not have to send any salary back. And they could potentially do that and still stay under the luxury tax. If Rozier's contract is voided, they could do that in order to fill Rozier's roster spot with somebody that isn't just a veteran minimum signing off of free agency. So there's a lot of interesting things here that could potentially happen if Terry Rozier's contract is voided. I think a lot of Heat fans would be very interested in something like that happening for obvious reasons. Rozier, even when he was healthy and available, it was just him and Kashad Johnson were the only guys who didn't play on opening night. Everybody else played. And that seems to be what the plan is going to be going forward for Terry Rozier. If this didn't, obviously, had this not happened here where he was arrested, but getting a useful player at that spot would be beneficial for the basketball product. But again, nothing has been decided yet.
Right. There's always the possibility the NBA does nothing. And I think that bears noting. I think
yes,
that is always a possibility. And so I think a lot of Heat fans have already projected that a major move will be coming, et cetera. And I just caution against that because I don't know what's going to happen. Having said that, my personal thought process is that the NBA will act quickly. They don't want this kind of public blemish. They tend to make moves that are about saving face and appearing to be an organization that is proactive in dealing with this. They're already kind of caught with their hand in the alleged cookie jar for having absolved Terry and perhaps not even knowing about Billups' involvement at all. And so they're already saying, well, we made a mistake. Clearly, the FBI found something we did not, and so we let him off the hook. This is me theorizing what could happen. And as
that's the interesting part, because they already said that Terry Rozier did nothing wrong. And then the FBI is coming in and saying, no, he did.
He did.
Does the NBA say, yeah, you're right. Actually, he definitely did something right. We were wrong. Like they could. And I think Adam Silver could probably say, like, yeah, the FBI found stuff that we couldn't find. They're the FBI. We're the NBA. And I think you can almost save face that way.
Absolutely, absolutely. The league is not set up to conduct investigations on their players, nor should they be. Like, you wouldn't want any
Right.
company that you work for to be capable of digging into that sort of past or anything like, or your involvement in anything like that,
Don't
because
get any
that
ideas
opens
locked
up
on.
a yeah, that opens up a whole hell of a lot of possibilities that most people do not want, including NBA players. And so,
Right.
having said that, again, I think the league does that quickly. I think they will terminate Terry's contract. That's what they did with Jonte Porter, a far lesser player that was far more under the radar than this latest investigation here. And that being the case, I think they moved, didn't they enact a lifetime ban?
They did.
Like, this was a player who was not even going to play and was already out of the league. And they're like, nope, we don't want to have anything to do with you ever again.
Really easy to put a lifetime ban on a guy who wasn't going to be in the NBA for very much longer in Jonte Porter.
Maybe.
More likely
but
than
either
not,
way,
right? It's a,
but
you
either
know,
way, I think with Terry, I think they still have to go that route. Like, this is me guessing again. I think they will make that move because they just cannot, as an organization, seem like they are okay with this. And
right.
given the
You have
league
to make an
partnerships,
example of him, right? Like, I think that's part of this. And if you, again, Jonte Porter is in this exact file.
yeah,
He's in this file, and the NBA put a lifetime ban on him.
yeah.
So you almost like don't. It almost feels like if you did it for him, don't you kind of have to do it to Terry Rozier? It sucks, right? Everybody, I even talking about it, it seems so punitive. It just seems but you know,
I think I've talked about
the
this story
standard that
before.
they
This is
set.
a long aside here, but kind of shows like there was a player named Fred Carter back in the day who used to smoke cigarettes. He was a smoker, as many players were at the time. And so even at the time, players would smoke during halftime and things of that sort. And there was a new coach there. He was kind of an interim coach. He was kind of wishy-washy, but he wanted to enact this kind of healthy new policy. He's like, guys, we're not going to smoke in the locker room anymore. He's passing one of their rules. And Carter, who was the star of the team, was like, but coach, I always smoke a cigarette during halftime. And then he was like, well, all right, Fred, if you want to do it, you can do it. And so everybody knew right away that this coach couldn't be taken seriously. I know that was kind of a long-winded way of saying, if they make an exception for Terry Porter,
Right.
then what the hell is going to? They're going to show the rest of the players in the league. So they cannot afford to make an exception. They won't. They just won't.
I agree with you.
Adam Silver is too aware of the sensitivity of this, and I'm sure they'll work together with the players' union and everything else like that to figure it out. But this is clearly baked into the CBA just for this occasion. And the CBA didn't make much of a stink of for Jonte Porter. I don't think they will over.
And the Porter case
well.
is slightly different than the Rozier case in that Porter was allegedly placing bets on himself, right? If I have that right.
I think it was associates again, like not him placing money, but telling. Yeah, but in that sense, it's almost similar. Like if Terry's like, I'm not going to make my 20 points tonight if you want to put money on it.
I'm only going to play 9 minutes. Not time to bang the unders on it. So, look, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. I agree with you. If the NBA does something, it feels like they should probably and will probably do something quickly. At the very least, this is an issue for the NBA. It's an issue for Adam Silver. Adam Silver has been open about talking about how sports gambling is an issue. We obviously saw how he responded with Jonte Porter. So there's a precedent here. So it wouldn't shock me. What?
Is it an issue? I was talking with
maybe we talk about that on the other side of the break. We got to talk about whether or not sports gambling is an issue in the NBA, and then maybe we'll have a couple minutes here for a quick preview of Miami.
And we have to talk about what Miami does next too, because I think there's if we believe, and we do, that this contract will be voided soon. We talked about the options. What does Miami do with those options now available to them? You surprised me going to break there. Today's episode is going. So today's episode brought to you by Rozier. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress, we're tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rozier comes in. Rozier.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rozier makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly and straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit rugiet.com/LockedOnBA. Get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnBA. And don't forget to use our code LOCKEDONNBA so they know we sent you. Rozier, stop making excuses and start making moves. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season's here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get 300s in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, you put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets you use across the app. You'll love how FanDuel gives you so many ways to play. As you can build parlays, try player props, even follow the live lines during games. It makes watching football and basketball and hockey and Major League Baseball so exciting. You've got a little something on everything. And if you've got something riding on the action, it makes it even better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com, download the FanDuel app today, and get started only by visiting FanDuel.com. We'll be right back.
Maybe we don't have time to dive into the existential, is sports gambling a problem with the NBA? But Adam Silver is talking about, hey, we want to eliminate prop bets on some of these lesser known players. We got to work with sports gambling companies to do that. And it kind of feels like maybe that should have been done before the full embrace of sports gambling into the NBA. But
that's fair. That's fair. I also don't want people kind of screaming Chicken Little style that the sky is falling, or that we have to start questioning whether or not anything. I've seen people already, and I know it's social media, so take it for what it's worth. And yet everybody's already kind of saying, oh, what? The NBA rigged? No way. As if people act under the impression already that the NBA is rigged.
I mean between this and the Kawhi Leonard stuff, where you have owners paying players under the table, and it's very similar kind of response where it's like, yeah, obviously they're doing this. And it's like, that really should not be. That to me is a problem for the NBA. That's even.
That's fair. I think that the two are different, though. I don't want. I'm trying to say this in a way so that fans don't act alarmist needlessly. To think that their best players are purposely crapping the bed, when you and I talk to these guys regularly and know how competitive they are. They would give their left arm for a championship, and that's how they view this thing. Not, I'm going to take the random Tuesday off so my boy Peso can make a couple $100,000.
Don't forget about Sugar.
Sugar guy.
You wanted to know about what comes next. What specifically were you thinking?
No, because I think, again, you talked about having this trade exception available to them. You had the mid-level exception. What is Miami going to do with it? Like, again, you're going to trade for a player. I think everybody's thinking Terry's gone, immediate roster improvement. I just don't see it happening. That's not. It's going to take a little while for a team to completely fall apart in one way, and then that's when players start getting moved. Like at this moment right now, teams like their rosters. They're fine with it. Right now, everybody's 0-1 or 1-0, and it's okay. And so until I think closer to the trade deadline do we see a player who has to get moved, or that a team is looking to move that might fit into that space available by Terry's contract being voided.
They could add a center right away. They could bring back Precious Achiuwa right away, which means maybe that unlocks the Kel'el Ware Bam stuff a little bit more. Maybe I don't know that this is a fact, but it could be a reason why we haven't seen Bam and Ware together very much, is because they're just like, we can't really afford to do that in case one of these guys gets injured or whatever, because we just don't have another big available. But go ahead.
Would you rather have Precious Achiuwa or DeAndre Jordan at this point?
Precious Achiuwa.
Okay, there.
Yeah, I'd rather talk to DeAndre Jordan. Nothing against Precious Achiuwa, but DeAndre Jordan is like one of the GOAT locker room guys. But it would open up an immediate avenue for Miami to be a major player before the trade deadline, which I'm not sure they are right now. A major player, not necessarily going to get a superstar or whatever like that, but hey, you guys got to get off a contract and we're here. And they could potentially do the thing where, send us your player, send us a draft pick too, to take care of this problem for you. Because you're going to have teams like the Boston Celtics who are still over the second apron or the first apron. You're going to have teams that are over the aprons that to your point, January, February, maybe not right now, but by midseason before the deadline are saying, you know what, maybe not our year. Let's start to save some money here. It wouldn't be an immediate thing for the Heat probably, but it would be a thing in the middle of the year where you're potentially looking at a roster upgrade. A name like Sam Hauser comes to mind right away, right? Boston could shop Hauser. There's a number of teams with the trade exception that could fit his $10 million into. Miami would become one of them. And I think he has an obvious, like he could just come in and help shoot threes and pick up the pace and all these things too. And you would be taking him from the Celtics, which is an added bonus. You think about maybe a guy like Mike Conley in Minnesota. Maybe they're trying to get off of his $10 million. I don't know how excited I am about Mike Conley at this stage of his career, but the Timberwolves could be ready to move on. They're playing Bones Highland a lot. Rob Dillingham is there. Robert Williams III, if he can stay healthy in Portland. Portland's weirdly expensive. Would they try to ship him off, or somebody like Matisse Thybulle or something like that? These aren't, to your point, David, probably like awe-inspiring names, but they are names that could help you at least in the short term. And I also looked at contracts that wouldn't be on the books long term, right? They're not infringing on the 2027 offseason plan or anything like that.
Right. So, okay, that gives a little clarity, I think, to our listeners who are kind of wondering. It's one, clearing Terry's salary off the books doesn't mean that you immediately have $30 million to go acquire edge player.
Right. There's no cap space. Like, there's still an over the cap team, but they would be so under the tax that they could do all of this stuff without going over the tax, triggering the repeater tax, all that stuff. It would give them enough. And so for all intents and purposes, that's what Heat fans care about. Are you above the tax? Are you above the first apron? Are you above the second apron? Nobody, the salary cap itself is almost fake. So they would be over the cap team. So you couldn't just sign a free agent to $26 million that you just had voided. Like, that doesn't work. But you could potentially use these avenues to go acquire a player. And by the way, if Rozier's contract got voided, so it is his roster spot. So Miami would go from 14 players under contract to 13 players, which would mean they would have to sign somebody right away. And that would I would guess it's Precious Achiuwa at that point. Maybe it's somebody else that they're looking at, but they would add somebody to the roster, probably at a veteran minimum right away, and then decide what to do with these other mid-level exceptions or trade exceptions that they'd have available to them. Okay. Quickly now, the Heat will be in Memphis Friday night to try to get their first win of the season. We're going to call this keys to credit cookies, David. How did the Heat get some credit cookies for this thing? I'm looking at three things. The first thing I'm looking at, you got to contain Ja Morant. He goes off for 35 points in the Grizzlies opener. Looks great. Like, did all of his work in the paint. Looked like prime peak Ja Morant. I'm looking at the matchup, Davion Mitchell versus Ja Morant. It's going to be a tough one for Davion Mitchell.
Absolutely. Just has the speed, but, Morant is quick and very slippery and can just score in a number of ways. So it's going to be tough. You hope that Davion doesn't get into foul trouble, because then after that, a lot of Drew Smith minutes, perhaps. We could see if maybe he can step up and handle that responsibility as well. So we're going to see a lot of Mitchell Smith kind of having their work cut out for them, trying to handle Ja Morant. Another point I'm looking at, obviously, I think how they handle the size issue, because they've got Edey there, they've got
Edey's out.
Jr. Edey's out. That's right. They've got Jaren Jackson Jr. Just saw him a couple of days ago in the preseason. That matchup, Bam seems to take a little bit more personally. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Bam's probably going to have a much better game than he did in the season opener. I mean,
you better
have much of a worse one.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to take that matchup seriously, because he does like to prove a point against Jaren Jackson Jr. One of those guys that he sees alongside Miles Turner as a potential peer, I guess, or something along those lines. So
Jaren Jackson Jr. fouling problems again in Memphis' opening game. That comes with the Jaren Jackson Jr. experience at this point. You're right. Bam takes that matchup personally. That's the other big matchup. It's Ja Morant and against Miami's defense, specifically Davion Mitchell, Andrew Smith. That's a good call out. And then Bam versus Jaren Jackson. Bam has to outplay Jaren Jackson. It just feels like he needs this bounce back game after a really tough game in Orlando, and then giving up that offensive rebound at the end to Wendell Carter Jr. and all these things. The other part, to your point, control the boards, match their size. Easier without Zach Edey and Brandon Clark, but Jaren Jackson Jr. is there. Memphis does crash the board. They have a lot of size on the wing that they use to crash the boards with. They have Jay Huff there now. So there's guys that can provide that size. And we saw Eric Spoelstra admit, he probably didn't match up size enough with Orlando down the stretch, which cost them those key offensive rebounds. Do we see a little bit of a tweak there with Spo's lineups, especially in the fourth quarter? And that brings me to my last kind of matchup here that I'm looking at. Cedric Howard looks great for Memphis. He looked great in the preseason. He looked awesome in their season opener with 14 points. I love Cedric Howard. We did our Blue Notebook on him. I was like, this guy might be top 5 for me in this draft. I love this guy. 5 is... This is a really good draft. Top 10. How do they match up with Coward, and how does Coward match up with Miami's young guys? Are we getting another big aggressive Jaime Jaquez Jr. game? Does Nikola Jovic step up and be that young guy from Miami? Is it a Pelle Larsson game who he comes in, plays 2 minutes, and basically fouled himself off the court in the season opener? I just want to see somebody go head-to-head with Cedric Howard and Gigi Jackson and Vince Williams and all these sort of young, energetic wings that this Memphis team has that just tend to cause you overlook them in the preview, and then they cause problems for you the game on the night of the game.
Yeah. And Spo too. I think a lot of people. I mean, he admitted that he made a mistake. So how does he handle this? How does he make those in-game adjustments and respond after what was probably not his best job? And where maybe if he had changed something in the rotation, it might have helped Miami at least be in a position to win rather than in the position to lose.
Mhm.
So I think I'm curious to see how he handles his rotation, and you know what, how he handles the whole Rozier issue. We know how these things,
Yep.
can affect a locker room. Terry, a guy that's well liked there, and so you know that it's going to be a little bit of a cloud for a team that just experienced a season-long hangover and trying to deal with a lot of different emotional things. This is not the way you want to start off a season, and so how Spo gets them ready and has him put that stuff behind them. I don't think anybody in that locker room is going to hold any resentment towards Terry in the same way that maybe they did hold resentment towards Jimmy Butler. So it probably is going to feel a little bit different, but you also have to be able to provide some leadership and say, just put it past it. We don't know what's going to happen with Terry. We don't know what's going to happen with his career. Focus on yourselves. Focus on trying to get the season going and get yourself a dub.
They'll be asked about it too, as we know, right?
No doubt.
And rightfully so. So
Absolutely.
let us know what you think in the comments section about the Terry Rozier situation. Let us know what you think about tonight's game against the Memphis Grizzlies. For now, thank you for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day.